Welcome everybody to a very special episode of the Boostly podcast. We're in episode 199. We're one away from 200. And in this live episode of the Boostly podcast, we're going to be talking about travel trends 2021.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely. If you want my respect, you better put direct. Here are the words in the podcast, that's what comes next.
First and foremost, we've got two fantastic guests with us this evening. We're going to start with Joseph and then we're going to go on to Thibault. So Joseph, if you could just please, the floor is yours. Just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit more about Guesty, please.
Thank you very, very much, Mark, for the introduction. My name is Joseph Binestock. I'm Director of Sales of Americas at Guesty. Guesty is a leading property management software. We're global in 80 countries around the world. And I'm very, very happy to be here today to discuss travel trends for 2021 and provide Guesty's insight.
All right, so my name is Thibault Masson. I am French, obviously, you can hear it. I am a property owner. I have two holiday rentals in St. Bart's in the Caribbean and one in Bali. So I've been doing this for quite some years. And also I publish Rental Scale Up. RentalScaleUp.com is a website that's all about, industry trends, what's going on, and actionable insights. I really, as an owner myself, I really care about giving insights, but making sure people could then say, okay, so what do I do? And I think that's, Mark, something you really love and we're going to be doing tonight. And so there's a free newsletter. People can just subscribe to the newsletter, rentalscape.com/newsletter. And every week we send out the trends, what's going on, what's new, either for direct bookings, also on the big bad OTAs, because in the past, I may have worked with one of those OTAs, so I knew quite a few things as well about how they work inside. So it's good to be in this perspective, I think, to people understand what's on the mind of these big bad OTAs.
Yeah. So still on UK stats. So if we're deep diving into the different months in the summer. So we're looking at, for example, July 2021 at a 14% more reservation volume compared to July 2020. For August, we're seeing 53% more reservation volume compared to August 2020. So we're seeing a pattern that reservations are building up. There is this pent-up demand, and we think that as we get closer to summer months, that volume may increase, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think these are great numbers, and obviously, I guess, Guesty, you guys get the data because you see all this data pouring in from property managers, right? Looking in the UK, so this is where the data comes from. So it's real life. So what I always love is seeing like data from property managers. That's fantastic. I think what's important here as well when I hear this, and also for anyone who's not in the UK as well, is to understand that it's when the British Prime Minister talked on February 22nd, it generated like a spike in traffic on websites of property managers, right? I think Sykes Holiday Cottages shared that they had like 200% boom in traffic and 400% boom in bookings that evening. Basically, people have been looking for, but they were not booking. And then it was a surge in traffic. But for people who who live in countries where there's not been where there's still very strong travel restrictions, no clear deadlines, it does mean people are looking right now, right? And so I would say it's a sure sign that they're waiting for a signal, and when that signal comes, you see a boom. And the other thing I would like to talk about as well is that, again, even within the UK, when there was this boom of bookings, it was again, if you're not in the UK, it was the British Prime Minister talking, but he was really talking about England and Cornwall in terms of the plan, right? So that's where I was looking at different maps, and there's a company called Transparent that does like maps, uses data, it's free, go and see what they do. See transparent.com, I think.
Yeah.
And you look at maps, and like Scotland Northern Ireland, nothing, because if you're not in the UK, basically it means that the plan was only for England and Cornwall, basically. I think not even Wales was there, I think. So you had a lot of bookings in certain areas. So suddenly, also what's very interesting in all this, you see these borders reappearing. And if you look like this map in Europe, same thing. Like France is actually doing pretty okay at the moment because we have a strong domestic market in France. And the US, California is not doing well. Florida is crazy. Well, it's always crazy in Florida, but it's booming. So what's very interesting as well to me is that there was a boom, but certainly more in rural areas, in places where people knew would be open at a certain date. So it does mean that, for example, in cities like London, things were not so great. So I don't know how many people here, maybe they can say it in the comments, are actually own properties in cities, but it's a tough one. And Mark, I would like to react to what you said as well. Is that, yeah, I agree that if you have a cottage on the coast, for example, in UK, but same thing in France, in Brittany, for example, or other areas. Yeah, I mean, why discount? Don't discount, right?
I liken it to a horse race, specifically like the Grand National. And I don't know if you've ever tuned into the Grand National, but it's a big horse race. And what happens beforehand, the horses are just going in circles, just basically waiting for somebody to set off the starter gun. And the horses are going in circles, the riders are getting ready, they're all getting jockeyed into position. And that is basically what your guests are doing right now. They're going in circles, they're just waiting for that starter gun. And for a lot of people, that starter gun was, like Thibault said, it was the Boris Johnson going up and setting out a roadmap. That roadmap had clear dates and people had the confidence. I think a big thing that will stay the same, I know we're talking about compared to 2019, but if you look at what will stay consistent with 2020 and now, is that the staycation. If you look at last year and you can look at your own reports from last year, from what bookings you had, most people were driving maybe 1 to 3 hours. In mainland Europe, you could get people that can jump in their car in Germany and drive down. But what you will find is that trend from last year isn't going to go anywhere fast, especially with countries or even municipals. Here in Spain, we've got, instead of counties, they call them municipals or states. You can change their mind really, really quickly. Like us, in April, we are going away for 3 days. We are driving 90 minutes for a staycation. We are 90 minutes. That is literally how far we are driving to go away for a few days. And there's another trip we're going to do when we're driving 35 minutes down the coast. So it's literally, that's how far that we are traveling, but that is how much we want to get out.
The first persona that we're talking about are travelers that are looking to reunite with friends and family. We're looking at another persona that is basically revenge travel, right? The future surge in travel, due to the cabin fever that has caused because of the pandemic. And also, some travelers are just looking at it, obviously a change of scenery. Some travelers would decide to travel, of course, for business reasons, but much less. But we're also seeing these, change of patterns also in terms of the traveler and the traveler persona, which is very, very interesting. And also based on that, you can make the necessary changes, right, or updates, if it's to the listing, if it's to the advertising strategy, and so on.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely.